So my name is Erin West. I'm a deputy district attorney in Santa Clara County. And
I'm Dave Barry. I'm a criminal investigator with Santa Clara County DA's office. I work with the REACT task force, as does Erin. REACT is simply it's a regional technology crimes focused task force that incorporates a lot of participation from state and locals, and as well as working heavily with federal partners. So law enforcement's in the house. So stick around because we're going to lob some grenades your way.
So we are very excited to talk to you about one of my prior favorite thing to talk about was SIM swapping, but my new favorite thing to talk about is pig butchering. So let's get started. This is the latest scam on Main Street. When I talk about pig butchering, I always talk about how it hits home, how it hits my backyard. And this is a picture of my best friend Lisa on Memorial Day of last year. And there she is sitting in my backyard, and she's laughing because she just received this text. How many of you have received a text that's something like this, a wrong number text? I suspect it's even more than that. So these wrong number texts are all over, and this is the one she's laughing about right then. And we've got plenty more. These are actual examples of wrong number texts that my friends have received. And they're interesting in that they're trying to engage you. And this is my personal favorite. This is Dr. David. My dog is still very slow and won't eat dog food. Can you make an appointment for me? And they're manipulative. They're designed to pull on your heartstrings because who isn't concerned about this dog that won't eat dog food, right? People are going to respond to that. So that's one way these pig butchering scams are getting started. 4th of July weekend in my backyard on Sunday night at 9:15 p.m., I get a text from a friend. And you know when someone's texting you at 9:15 p.m. on the 4th of July weekend and wants to talk to you about crypto cases, that it's not going to be good news. And sure enough, it was not. She told me about her son who had begun an online relationship, and I could tell the story before she even got it out of her mouth. That sure enough, they'd been corresponding for quite a bit online. She had moved the conversation to WhatsApp, and after a month of talking, introduced the concept of investing in cryptocurrency. And that's how these scams work. They build trust over time, they show you an enviable lifestyle, and then they suggest investing in cryptocurrency. Here's another one. This is in my backyard this summer. This is an elementary school friend. Oops, we've got a mix-up. There we go. Concerned about a woman he's talking to, saying, you know, I'm laughing at the beginning because I'm like, don't invest in crypto if she asks you to, but sure enough, that's exactly what this was. It's a woman that he hadn't met. She's showing that she isn't available to meet because she has someone in the hospital. And when I ask if she's perhaps from out of the country, he's like, oh, from Myanmar. Well, let me tell you why that's concerning to me, because of what's happening in our world today. And if you're not aware of the background of what's happening in pig butchering, I'm here to tell you it's hideous. I'm here to tell you that scammers in Southeast Asia are stealing billions of dollars. And their scam personnel, the people fueling this scam, the people that are being required to be scammers, are human trafficked into a situation. They are led to believe that they are coming to work in a call center in Bangkok, and upon arrival are being trafficked into Cambodia and Myanmar, where they're living in locked facilities, and they're being forced to work 12 hours a day under penalty of violence. And I didn't bring any of those violent videos, but I can assure you I've seen people being beaten with baseball bats and touched with electric batons. And why is this such a major problem? We know it's a major problem because the stats dropped last week from IC3, and we know that not only is online fraud a mess in the neighborhood of 10.3 billion, specifically investment fraud, and that's our pig butchering fraud, is at $3.3 billion of losses. And those of us who work in law enforcement know that this is low because people don't like to report these crimes. They are embarrassed, they are humiliated, and they are not happy about reporting these. So that's a low number. Well, California is the big winner here. I love to win, but I certainly don't love to win when we are $2 billion of the $3.3 billion that was lost to investment scams. So that's why it's in my backyard, and I'm very concerned. And so so should be and are my partners in Florida, New York, Texas, Georgia. If your name's on that list, then we should be working together. But it's not just the financial loss that concerns me. It is the loss of the financial security and the security as a human being that these people are suffering. We are seeing victim after victim become suicidal and losing their entire, this is a laser-focused scam designed to take every last cent from the victims. That's what that whole month of courting is about, is trying to understand the universe of what this person has to offer. So in this case, not only are we facing financial loss, we're facing incredible mental anguish. We have, this is an actual transcript of a victim in San Mateo County, California, and he's laying it out for this scammer saying, if I lose this money, I will kill myself. And the ruthless scammer says, oh no, this is 100% accurate. That's who we're dealing with. That's our opponent. That's our collective opponent. And they're ending in tragedy. This is a picture from Facebook of a woman who was that photo was used as the lure for a man in Michigan who ended up losing his life savings to that scammer and then committed suicide. And they're not slowing down. This is, my boyfriend and I are out to dinner the other night, and he's like, here you go, here's another one. It's constant. And they're not stopping, and they're continuing unabated. And I've seen the pictures in Google Earth, and I know that their compounds are getting even bigger. And they're getting more offensive, for sure. As someone who prosecuted sexual assault cases for 9 years, there's nothing I detest more than using a child as a lure in a situation like this, with this 9-year-old with her lipstick on. As if the original picture of this attractive woman doesn't get your attention, perhaps someone will be interested in that. So Dave Barry will tell you a little bit more about what we're seeing at ground level in Santa Clara County.
Yeah, so I just want to walk you through a little bit about what is being reported to us as sort of the victim experience once they've been victimized. So they get lured into the scam, they invest their life savings, and then some. They realize at some point that they've been scammed, and they go to law enforcement for help. And we are hearing messages like this over and over again. These are just excerpts from emails that we get. Reported to this place, that place, haven't heard back. Haven't heard anything from name your agency. The investigators in So County don't have the tools to trace. They rely on Secret Service, but Secret Service told me to be patient and wait. And my personal favorite is I went to a local 3-letter agency and they just asked me to leave. Look, I've been a cop for a long time, certainly long enough to know that that the way people experience, the way people perceive law enforcement's attitude towards them and towards what is happening is not always reflective of reality, but it's definitely their reality. That is how they're perceiving it. That's how they're experiencing it. So why? Why are they experiencing it? It's not because we don't care. It's not because we're not trying to do our best. But there are some real serious, persistent reasons why they meet a brick wall when they go to talk to us. Especially, let's just start with the state and local law enforcement, right? And when they figuratively or literally drive to their police department to report this crime, they walk in the lobby and they don't meet Tigran Gambarian, right? Tigran's not sitting there at the counter to greet them and tell them how to trace cryptocurrency. They meet the person that was just on patrol last week, dealing with domestic violence calls and sexual assault and blood and guts and stolen cars and not cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is going to be new to most of them, right? It's new, it's non-violent, so it's going to just be deprioritized from the get-go when you're talking about agencies that have public safety sort of in the more overt sense as their primary mission. If you get past that and you get somebody to talk to you and take a report, you're still dealing with somebody who may not have the training to understand how to work with cryptocurrency and investigation. If they do have the training, they may not have the tools to be able to do any tracing. And even if they do have those things, or if they are interested in developing them, maybe they don't have the time. Who has the time when you're dealing with all these other cases to become an expert in a completely new field? It's not realistic all the time. And then there's this concept of the money. The suspects are overseas and the money went overseas if they actually take the time to look into it. And so this whole overseas buzzword drives me crazy. But that's sort of the perception. And that hey, there's nothing we can do. This is not in our backyard. This is happening somewhere else. So call the feds. Go to the feds. They'll save you. So we called Morgan, right? We get Morgan. And I know there's FBI people here. I know at least one of you did this in the mirror last night. Are the feds, look, the feds have their own challenges, right? They're also doing great work. And by the way, I want to pause and say, like, I'm not trying to suggest that there aren't state and local agencies who are doing great work. There are some people here. There are a ton of people that we talk to. There are lots of cops in a lot of different places learning how to do these things, developing the training, developing the tools, figuring it out, pushing their agencies forward. But what the problem is scale, right? Like, there are so many more agencies in the country that are not doing that. And so we have a long way to go. With the feds, they have their own challenges. You know, they have oftentimes very high thresholds to overcome. I liken the federal system to a sleeping giant. If you can get them to wake up, it takes them a while to get going, get some momentum. You know, they start swinging their hammer, they can do tremendous damage, as evidenced by the press release yesterday about an enormous seizure that they made, which is great. But they're also secretive, right? They're not going to tell people what they're up to. They take information, they do their thing in the background, they're doing a ton of work, they're doing a ton of great work, but the victims don't see that. Long time passes and they think nobody's looking at their case. So who do they turn to? They turn to these recovery companies, where companies advertise to them that they will help them get their money back. And I don't want to paint this with too broad a brush, but this is a problematic area. I know that there are some good actors in this space that do quality work and that are trying to do right by the victims. There are a lot of companies in this space that are charging them a lot of money up front, making promises that they cannot keep, and having to still push them towards law enforcement to actually get anything done at all. And oftentimes, unfortunately, law enforcement has to completely redo the work they did because the work is subpar. So this is an area that I think needs a lot more scrutiny, where there needs to be more information that victims can use to be able to separate the good from the bad. So what are we doing at REACT? So REACT, as I mentioned, we're mostly state and local. We work with the feds. Our usual approach, we want to go put handcuffs on people. That's usually our approach. Are we going to do that? No. We learned enough about the scam to realize that, except in rare circumstances, it's not going to happen. We have tried to get the money as much as we can. We try to talk to victims, get their story, figure out where the money went, figure out where we can make some seizures, at least some portion of their money back, and get it back to them. And then we rinse and repeat, do that over and over again. And we've been doing our level best to have an impact and to help those people. But I'll tell you right now, it doesn't scale. Just like I said before about state and local in general, we're working hard, we're doing our best, but the problem is one of scale. We cannot keep up with this problem, and it's just one of those problems that law enforcement by itself is not going to be able to solve. So, what do you think, Erin?
I think Operation Shamrock. So if you have followed me on LinkedIn, you know that this is something I proposed. Jonathan in the last panel teed it up nicely. This is a major worldwide human rights victim-focused issue that we cannot solve alone. And what we need to do is we need to unify and we need to collaborate. And this is the time to set egos aside and to work for the benefit of this whole ecosystem that we love so much. It's not just pig butchering, it's fraud generally. And how can we make a better system that works for victims and for all participants in the system? So if you follow me, you know I've got my 3 leaves. I've got educate, seize, disrupt, and I talk about them all the time. What I'm saying here is there is room for everybody. And there is a whole field of places that anybody can make an impact, and that's what I want to talk about. So educate. So you've heard it once, you've heard it 15 times already today. We need to educate. Well, what does that look like? We need to educate law enforcement, number one, so that they know, so that when a victim walks into a law enforcement agency, they know how to handle that situation. We need to educate our current victims, and we're going to do that with victims groups. We're going to work to lower the stigma of what they've gone through. We're going to show them resources that they can turn to get help in this crisis that they find themselves. And we've got to get the news out to potential victims. We need to be talking about this scam all day, every day, at the ballpark, at the coffee shop, with your aunt. Everybody needs to know about this.
Everybody needs to know the rubber ducky.
They need to know the rubber ducky, 100%, yes. And seize, the next one is seize. So how are we gonna do that? Well, number one, we've got to get tools in the hands of local and state law enforcement, and the feds too. My Secret Service partners are here and they have fantastic tools, and we're lucky to have tools as part of a task force, but we've got to figure out ways to get tools in the hands of our ground level law enforcement so that they can make a difference. We've got to figure out a better way to work with banks, exchanges, to figure out how to quickly identify the money that is stolen, that is bad money, and get it frozen until we can get it back to a victim. And by clearinghouse, I want to take a look at IC3. I want to take a look at the victim reporting system in this nation, where victims are reporting to somewhere where they're not hearing back and they're not thinking they're getting heard, although we know the FBI did a great operation in Arizona. But what's happening from the victim experience is they don't believe they're being heard, so they're shotgunning, approaching everybody to get help, and that's not helping them, and it's frustrating them. And finally, disrupt. I think this is where this room excels. And this is where this room can make a difference. I'm very interested in the on-ramps. I'm interested in working with Match, LinkedIn, with Meta to figure out how to get these scammers off those platforms and limit the ability of these scammers to get to our victims. There's a million ways we can disrupt their infrastructure, and I welcome any and all of them. And I think a coordinated system is the best way to do it. I feel like I've heard from 25 people who want to take down domains. I've seen the Secret Service, SFO, seize domains, and I just think that that is a great method that we could use, and we should coordinate, and we should do it at scale. And finally, laundering. That's where, again, you guys know what to do here. I'm a sexual assault prosecutor turned React deputy DA, and so this is where you guys excel. You know how we're going to be able to stop that money flow, and I welcome creative ideas about how to do that. But what I can tell you about this Shamrock business is, like, this is decentralized. This is just like crypto. You should make any efforts you want and throw a Shamrock on it and call it a day. There is plenty of opportunity for everyone, and what I think that we really have here is we have the next 36 hours together to really explore ways that we can make this ecosystem safer. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have had your attention for a few minutes to discuss it. And I look forward to further discussions with all of you.